something else, and I personally do not want to do that paperwork. So please, again, keep those hands, arms, and feet inside of the train while it is moving. We currently have Mr. Eric up there. He is going to be the person that is driving this train today. He is an engineer. He's going to be one of our conductors for the day. He's also going to be a mechanic. That's his main job here at the North State Railroad Museum, is being a mechanic. So he helps preserve things such as this train that we are currently on. He also works on various other things that are in the paint shop as well. So whenever we are getting ready to kind of switch the track right now, and that is Adam, that is switching, established in Central Georgia in 1833, and it wouldn't have been until 1850 to about 1855 that these buildings that you're seeing today would have been built. So this is the largest pre-antebellum railroad in the entire United States. We are about to get on one of 16 operating turntables in the U.S. as well. This turntable is 85 feet long, and it is fully operable. William Washington Gordon, the creator of the Central of Georgia, he has a very famous granddaughter. By a show of hands, who enjoys some Girl Scout cookies? I do. Alright, well, William Washington Gordon's granddaughter is Juliette Gordon Low, who is the founder of the Girl Scouts. So not only did she create a wonderful program for young women here within the United States and even internationally, but she also would have created the lovely Girl Scout cookies that we admire so much. Now we are actually about to spin on this turntable. We're not just here just to look all pretty and cute. We're actually about to spin, and it is going to turn, and as you can see right here is going to be our roundhouse. Now this roundhouse was used to store locomotives during the time, and this turntable that we are on would have been utilized in order to transport and turn those trains or those locomotives in the particular cubicles that you're seeing behind me. Now this turntable would have actually been fully man-powered whenever this was going to be pre-technology, pre-advanced technology. It would have been fully man-powered. There would have been two men, one on each side, that would have to sit there and push this turntable in the circular motion that it needed to go into. Now, it was strenuous work, but it may not be as strenuous as you were thinking, because this turntable is so well designed that when the locomotive gets on here, it's so well balanced that it was only just about 200 pounds of pressure for you to just sit there and push it. So it wasn't as tons as you might think of how much this train actually weighs. Now today it is going to be fully powered by an engine, and that power is going to only be about 7 horsepower. So your push motor that you might have at your home is probably actually a little bit stronger than these motors that are in today on this turntable right now. Now we are going to line up with these tracks right here, and going to make sure that we are fully lined up just with his 2 eyeballs that he has. And if not, we could potentially be around. There is a chance for that. But you know, I've only been working here for about 6 months, and that doesn't happen yet. But we'll be fine, all jokes aside. They definitely know what they're doing. We have well-experienced people here. But you'll see Adam really fast. He'll line us up, he'll double check with his eyes, and we'll call it a day. And we'll make our way to our paint shop. The roundhouse into the turntable right here helped lubricate the turntable. So no one ever had to come here with their WD-40 and help pull this turntable up. They were able to just it was able to do that on its own. Now, one thing I do want to mention, there is a Volkswagen van out here today. That typically is not here. That's not something that is typically on site. That is because someone is actually getting married here later today. So if you want to have your event here, you are more than welcome to have your event at any of the Coastal Heritage Society places if you're interested. So our next stop is going to be the paint shop. The paint shop is going to be one of the largest buildings that we have here on property. And essentially it's going to be what it sounds like. They would have today there are going to be numerous projects that still go on. So if you remember, at the very beginning I talked about Mr. Eric who's driving the train today. He works in here often helping restore various different things. He's restoring a crane that would have been used to move different rail lines whenever it came to the actual building of a line. Some other workers here walking around in and out of some of these places, and that is because, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of restoration and preservation that goes along in here inside of the paint shop. Now, whenever the paint shop would have been fully in operations, there actually really would have been no electricity in here. There would have been no lights. That is because this entire roof would have been a skylight, essentially. So natural lighting would have come in, allowing workers the ability to see while they were working. Now, this kind of orangey, reddish kind of colored car, this car right here is currently going under restoration. So Bradford, one of our workers, he's been working on it, so y'all may see him pop out of it, so don't be alarmed if you see someone come out. But this car right here in particular is has an interesting story, as it has pretty much, we don't know a whole lot of information, quite frankly, about it. And we believe it's from the 1900s. And whenever it came to this full operation of this train car right here, after it had kind of hung its hat up essentially of being in use, it would have been used as a house at one point and even a storefront as well. And then it would have eventually wound up made its way back here to the central of Georgia. Again, we don't have a whole lot of information on that one. Now this one right behind me, it is also going underneath some restoration. The person that's mainly working on that is going to be Liz, but she is not in there right now. Now, both of these cars right here would have been used in the live-action movie Lady and the Tramp by Disney. So if you go and re-watch that, you're actually going to see a lot of familiar places of Savannah in general, but now you're definitely going to pick up on some places here on site because they actually filmed here. And the Tramp runs out of these train cars, and then he runs around, and that is all what happens whenever it turns him trying to escape from some of the bad people. Now that yellow car back there, that is going to be known as a refrigerator car. So before interstate highways would have occurred, and even planes as well, there was a way that you could get your resources from boat, but then you could also get it from train as well. So they would have used those refrigerator cars as a sense of being able to take those products from one place to another more efficiently than they had ever been before. So inside of those cars would have been large sheets of ice, and these would have been put in by men, and they essentially icemen is kind of a nickname that they would have received, who would have been putting all of the pieces of ice inside of the refrigerator cars to allow those products to try to sustain as much as they could. And another really cool fact that they were able to do to help preserve those pieces of ice from melting is that they would actually line the walls inside of there with any sort of animal hair, mainly horsehair, and this would help prevent the ice from melting. It helped the ice stay longer. Now right here is going to be a just traditional passenger car, or not necessarily a passenger car rather, but just a traditional car that you might see even to this day whenever it comes to seeing a train cross the railroad tracks. But this one in particular would have been one of the first rail cars to have advertisement on them. One of the first things ever to really have advertisement on it. And that's something rare that I feel like we don't get to really see today. That was actually a law, was there were no forms of advertisement that should have occurred on any sort of rail operations. That quickly changed because trains were becoming very, very vast. And it also allowed people to promote themselves, but now again it's going to be strange because we are able to drive down any sort of interstate today and see a billboard pretty much anywhere, everywhere you go. So to think that there once used to be legislation against that is kind of interesting to think of, but again that would have been one of the first advertisements on the side of a rail car. from Savannah all the way to Macon and even into Atlanta. So that was something that you could typically do. Now, going back to about the 1940s to 50s, even to the 60s, a train ride from Savannah to Atlanta would take about 4.5 hours, which is actually really good because if you were to drive there to this day, it would take you about that same exact time.